Welcome, everyone, to Day 3 of Week 5 here for the PPL. My name is Gormizer, and this is your PPL pre-show. And as always, we're going to be joining on the desk here with Rain Day and Pretty Hair as things are starting to wind down for Europe. This is going to be the last day of European play for this split. So how are you guys feeling about the way things have kind of shaped over the split?
I'm glad we still have a game that kind of matters a lot today for me personally. VP and FNATIC is going to be a good one.
Yeah, I'm feeling a little nostalgic, sad. It's nice to see this coming to an end, but great players, a great opportunity for them to showcase themselves. Still one more day, and everything means a lot mentally, especially heading into Worlds and knowing that you're going to face these guys, whether it's in the qualifiers or whether it's eventually at LAN through the 16th or the 18th.
It's just one of those things, we've actually mentioned it in the past. This one doesn't necessarily mean much overall for the standings, but morale-wise, for FNATIC, losing to Virtus Pro could mean a lot going into the LAN. We've kind of mentioned, I think we made jokes towards the beginning of the split, like, hey, you've gone undefeated so many times in a row. You can't go undefeated and then hope to win this LAN again. But what are they going to be thinking if they lose to Virtus Pro, of all people?
I think FNATIC, they go into this split probably being okay and maybe accepting the fact that they'll probably lose to Na'Vi, and that's okay with them because they've beat them every time and it hasn't helped them much when it came down to fighting for the trophy. Now, losing to NIP, that starts to, I think, you make yourself question a little bit, right? Obviously, they're improving, but FNATIC are FNATIC. They expect to come in and they expect excellence here. They don't expect a near tied or an even record. They expect to come out, massively positive. And then to lose to VP as well, I mean, that sends you into the placement round, I think, with your confidence a little shaken as a squad.
No, I appreciate the direction Nick's taking this, but I'm gonna say that I disagree for only one small factor, and it's just because of the unbelievable. I think that gives them mentally the scapegoat of saying that, well, this isn't really us. This isn't our team losing. We're gonna take the L. We brought in Umbi. We've got to now get him up to speed. And I think that they had that first part of the season where they lost. I think that was good for them. And now even if they lose now, which may be a bad sign, mentally they put themselves in a position where they know and have accepted they are in transition to get Umbi ready. Umbi personally on Twitter has said that I'm not ready. I'm nowhere near ready, but thank God I have a month to practice. So I think he has that mentality, if anything, just him, and that is going to be a boon for them whether they lose or win. But this game still matters, and it's because not just whether they win or morale, it's the old D69 boys battling against each other again. Bugsy and Gerrah split off from Perdo, Sheepa, and Elven Path. All those guys went to 3 separate teams, and that has been one of the, if not the most historic team to ever be in Paladins esports. So they're back again. It's always fun when the boys get back together.
3 out of 5 members being able to sit on Virtus Pro and picking up some stellar rookies, I would say, to be able to bring themselves, at least the performance they've been able to pick up. Virtus Pro, I think, is the team that everyone kind of has their eyes on them, right? You had mentioned when Unbelievable's picked up there for FNATIC that's a land change. That's something that's looking into the future. You're waiting another month, maybe a month and a half before you can actually say we are a dominant team. Virtus Pro made their changes for this split, and they have been paying off. Do you think this team has a potential to repeat what we saw at Virtus Pro last year, where they come in out of pretty much nowhere and win a LAN?
I don't know about win a LAN. Placements, I think they will make it through. They're probably going to be one of my 4 teams that I put through that bracket, but I don't think that they will win. I think FNATIC will still be winning that placement round bracket.
I think Perdo, Sheepa, and Elven Path is enough to get you through the qualifiers, but to get you through the LAN stage where it's best of 1, or essentially it's loser goes home, not best of 1s, best of 5s, then 7s, but still the premise is that you only have one chance to make a mistake, and if you do, it's fatal. I think they will have enough veteranship to adapt when it comes down to teams that aren't as experienced, maybe not even technically as good, but yeah, going all the way, that's going to be a tough one. I think maybe they do well at qualifiers. It's a whole different story of doing well against the Navis, the Nips, and of course G2 and Envy.
Like you said, HRX, pretty much every single thing on the line, you lose once you're out.
Yeah.
Whereas placements, teams like Virtus Pro will have a second chance. That's, I think, the glory of going through the placements for some of these teams. Not only do you get all of that LAN experience from, I think, the 5th through the 10th of November, but you also get all of that time being able to kind of, I guess, boost yourself. Look at it as this loss doesn't mean as much. We still have another chance. And that's kind of where everyone's mind is, right? The standings, they're not going to change. Everything's pretty much set in stone as it is. Today is going to be the last thing that you leave on everyone's mind for FNATIC, for Virtus Pro. The last time anyone gets to see you, and the same thing for Mouse and Na'Vi, but we'll talk about them in a little bit. What, I guess, is the best taste for them to leave behind?
For FNATIC, I think you want to leave behind improvement, which goes to Nick's earlier point that you don't want to lose today. You do want to say that we can obviously get a win against a team that we feel is not in contention for the World Championship. If you're Virtus Pro, you obviously need a win. You want to say that we can now beat a team that, yes, they got unbeat. You're looking at it opposite wise. You're like, okay, they got unbeat, but he's a world champion, so that shouldn't matter. If we beat them, that means we're caliber for winning worlds. I think both teams have an interesting schema from which they can look at this matchup and take a lot of positives and negatives depending on what they decide to think.
I think FNATIC has a lot to lose today, and MVP just have straight up a lot to gain by winning this.
It's going to be... I think this is the last one that we have pretty much for the rest of the split, which is today and tomorrow, that is as impactful as it could be for LAN. A lot of tomorrow could still shake things up. I'm looking at Renegades.
Hey, Navi Mouse Sports, watch
but,
out.
Navi.
That could change things.
And Mouse. That's the other matchup we have
That
today.
might change things.
Honestly, I mean, we joke about it. Mouse has a history of taking some of the top teams down in random scenarios. I don't know if it's going to be like a set win, but I mean like little map wins.
Yeah.
But right now, Navi is looking for their 8-0. They're looking to be the team that goes undefeated this time, kind of replacing FNATIC. But is that a curse? Is it bad to go undefeated in a split?
Not for Navi, I don't think. I think they've had, as a team, a lot of humbling experience, and they've had to fight from that third place position for a long time, and kind of the same thing with Envy. I think when you look at FNATIC, that was a roster that got off pretty hot out of the gate. And you look at, they had two kind of young backliners that sort of rose to that stardom spot really, really quickly. And, there was a lot of cockiness. They lost Vegas because they were too cocky. They haven't had that humbling experience. They've had to lose these couple of lands now over the course of this year to get that. And I don't think Navi are a team that will let that type of thing get to them.
The only issue is that when you do play from ahead versus from behind, you have a different game that you're playing. It's a different mentality that you have to take, and it's also in a different approach that people take against you. When everyone's going and thinking, how do we beat FNATIC, that puts a lot of pressure on FNATIC. When everyone now realizes FNATIC, screw FNATIC. I want to worry about how to beat Navi. They're playing in a very isolated, albeit a very good box that we talked about earlier, but people are watching, and they know this is the team to beat. Last year at Worlds, it was actually kind of a sleeper amongst the guys. Like, by the way, man, I don't know, you're talking about FNATIC. Navi's the team. I mean, Nocturne's always like, Navi's the guys that we're worried about the most. That's what we found out. Now it's clear. They've won 3 major lands, including the World Championship. They've got a back-to-back winner. He could 3-peat this year. I mean, I'm looking forward to today just to see how they continue to dominate, because it's showing everyone how to play the proper form of Paladins.
And I'm kind of curious because we've seen them pull out a little bit of different strategies, and it's partially, I think, them trying things out before LAN comes in a nice competitive environment, but also maybe trying to hide some strats, kind of doing a duality, I guess, with it, with picking up a triple frontline. But it's been a different flavor of triple frontline. So I guess my two questions really about the way they've been playing lately is, are they going to pull it out today, and is it going to be different or the same of what we've kind of been experiencing with more aggressive frontlines in it?
I think they should keep people on their toes, keep everyone guessing. You don't want to let everyone know what you're going to be playing into, and my biggest concern for all these top 2 teams is what are they doing in this month and a half that they've got off leading up to HRX. Obviously, I think you need to be watching the placement rounds and seeing if you can glean anything from that. And I think you need to be trying to find some types of scrims to keep yourselves fresher, because that is a long time. And I think any team that comes out in the top 2 that's already qualified for HRX, if they just sit on their laurels from now until HRX, they will not do well at that tournament.
I have my doubts that Navi is a team that can ever sit on their laurels for anything, because if I
doesn't
remember
feel that
correctly,
way.
They won the World Championship, and I remember this being a really big talking point. A week later, they said they were trying to look for scrims again. They're all grinding ranked. They didn't even wait 8 days after they get a World Championship. There's still, I think 2 months until the split starts for them before they start grinding again. So do you think this is a team that's going to even sit back, or do you think they're going to be able to jump on it and keep this next month at the top level for them?
Not a great opportunity to that thing you're mentioning is from the time where I interviewed Unbelievable in Phoenix after that championship. They mentioned they took barely a week break. Again, I don't expect them to be taking many breaks here. I know Phoenix has mentioned that he's been able to at least relax a little bit now that they know they've got first secured and they're going to LAN. I just don't know, man. How far higher can you go as Navi? It's really a 3-peat, and you think about it, they should be working the hardest they can, because I don't think we're going to ever see a team in Paladins Esports 3-peat like this, the way Navi have, if they do it, which is why it's special. I mean, there's only 4 franchises in the NBA who have ever 3-peated in that. I mean, it's not something that happens all the time. So this is a time to kick it up. I just hope they stay with it, even though they are the front runners. Everyone's giving them the world title already, and basically someone else is just going to have to come and take it from them.
Well, my eyes are going to be on Mouse to see if they can cause any potential upset. I don't think there's going to be any major upsets, but at least a map would be nice to see go their way. But other than that, we do have the more important match, I would say, FNATIC and Virtus Pro coming up first. We actually got to sit down with Gerrah for a little bit to kind of figure out what's going through the minds of FNATIC as they go into this all-important matchup today.
Now, one of the interesting things that I want to talk to you about is reuniting, obviously, with FNATIC here and Virtus Pro. Combining, if you put some of these players together, you have the old D69 roster. How do you feel about going up against them in the last week of the split here?
I mean, playing against your old teammates in any game, in any sentence, it's always interesting because there's always that extra you want to beat them. But overall, we just feel good.
You want to prove that you made the right call, you made the right decision, and is there all good things, good feelings between you and Elvin? And
there's no bad blood or anything between any of us. We all still friends. We like to hang out on LAN events, even though they haven't been on many so far. But we see each other on the qualifier.
Yeah, it's been a long time since you guys split up, and I guess we never got a lot of clarification from anybody on any of the teams. We heard murmurs and stuff as to why it happened. I mean, do you now feel safe enough elaborating on kind of why that split really took place and what sent you all on your separate journeys after that loss?
I think we just felt people needed a change. We needed a change in the team. Everyone was feeling different about each other, so we just needed changes, and people took different paths to where they wanted to go. So we just split up in the end.
You could say they took Elvin paths to different places, I guess. He found his way.
That's a way to say it.
That's a way to say it. Shut up, Gerrah. What are you doing? That's a great pun. Appreciate my puns, okay? I don't like
all right.
It. Thanks.
All right.
Thanks. You're working on an iPhone here, okay? You can't talk.
Yeah.
Okay? You don't even have a webcam.
I'm quiet, okay? I'm out of here.
You need to sit. I'm surprised you have a mic. You don't have a webcam in 2018. And you're signed with FNATIC. I don't understand how that's even possible. iPhone headphones. Get out of here. All right. So the question for today is, how do you feel they are now possibly, depending on how some of these results have gone, even in the race for third, since you guys have dropped so many games, what do you feel like this matchup means today, just looking towards your actual set?
For us, it's mostly we taking it more as practice because we're going to the LAN qualifier, so they are going to the LAN qualifier as well, so we just see it as practice and that's it. If you take third seat into it or fourth seat, there is not much difference in it.
Awesome, man. Well, thanks so much for that. Excited to see your matchup against Virtus Pro coming up right after this.
All right, thanks.
Coming down to the wire here in Europe, our final two matches of the Paladins Premier League ready to be broadcasted. My name is Pretty Hair, that's Score Miser. We're here to bring you the first of two sets today, FNATIC versus Virtus Pro.
A lot on the line without a lot being on the line, right? It's really weird to have that dynamic, but
a lot up here.
It is a lot of mentality and what exactly you're leaving in everybody else's mind going into the placements or into HRX.
There it is, guys. HRX, it's just around the corner. We've said it once, we've said it 100 times. November 16th through the 18th. Grab your tickets if you haven't already. Book your hotel rooms, get your flights, get everything you need to in order. It's going to be one hell of a weekend, and what a better way to end it than with the after party as well. That is a high-res family exclusive here, hrxafterparty.eventbrite.com. It's at a really cool place called Main Event for only $50. It's the best possible way you could end your weekend. This is the last day of Europe, like we mentioned. Last day of North America will be tomorrow. Let's take a look at the standings so you guys can get an idea of how this has been all playing out if you're just tuning in. Na'Vi undefeated, NIP 5-3, FNATIC at 4-3, VP down there at 2-5, Mouse winless at 0-7. Normally able to get at least one win. There's not often a winless team in Europe. I say that is a title more reserved for Splice over North America. But we'll see. Like you mentioned, plenty on the line here mentally for VP and FNATIC today. FNATIC, a team that have gone undefeated in the spring, in the summer, and then their fall from grace, I think is a good way to put it.
Honestly, and looking at the standings, I feel like losing to Virtus Pro has more of a negative meaning, when you just say it that way. When you look at the standings and just say, well, FNATIC go 4-4, that's honestly not the worst thing in the world if they end up that place. I think it'd be if they get 3-0 today, they go from that one map differential down to a -2. So it's not the best overall again, but that's kind of what we've been hinting at, I think, from the beginning of the split, where it's just, I mean, you go 8-0, then lose LAN. You go 8-0, you lose LAN. Finally, you're not going 8-0. Does that mean you can win a LAN, or does that just mean that your chances have completely fallen off the edge of the earth?
Seeding is seeding at this point. Everyone in the bottom 3 of both regions is going to go to the event. The placement rounds just determines who they would play, but VP would be so happy, I think, to get a win over FNATIC today. FNATIC ban out Frozen Guard, a map that has quickly risen to popularity when it comes to playing against Virtus Pro. That was the first map I believe VP took off of FNATIC, and one that they continue to look good on the rest of the split.
And I think that's both teams doing their homework, right? Like, FNATIC have been able to get rid of the Frozen Guard, like you just mentioned, something that's been big for Virtus Pro, and Virtus Pro get rid of Ascension Peak, which has felt very solid for FNATIC over this last split.
Yeah.
But Jaguar Falls is this weird dynamic where originally, like Summer Split, FNATIC win this map 4-0 against literally anybody they take here. Now it is probably their shakiest map that I see them go to. It doesn't feel as confident from them, whereas Virtus Pro, I mean, them picking it means that they know exactly what they're going into.
I really, really like this map, and this isn't exactly unique to this map, but I feel like the draft is pretty much what decides this map, because I feel like everyone is good enough at Jaguar Falls to be able to play, to be able to compete. Unless they get out-drafted here, you don't see a ton of those 4-0s, and this is why I think it's so fun to watch. Virtus Pro will kick it off with the Ruckus, and FNATIC scoop up the Inara.
I'm curious where Virtus Pro is driving this, because Ruckus it's something that I think we've seen rise up, and it's been great on this map. But over Inara is something that I never thought I'd see, at least not in this split. Although the way things have been changing, this is not a bad way to start it up. Ruckus, again, on this map is great. Barrick on this map is great. Probably one of the only front lines in this weird way that can contest Inara on the point.
Yeah, I think the cool thing about Barrick, he does a good amount of damage.
Yeah.
And he floats nearby, right? But he's got that ultimate dome shield, and it's good to have that sort of like guaranteed, we're going to get some time on the objective, or just be able to slow the fight down or hit the pause button, so to speak. I think Ashe brings that to the table as well. And because nobody can really like be Inara or take her place, it's good to have an ultimate that can do that at least for a time every couple of rounds. And maybe at this point, everyone's just trying to figure out how to beat Inara, how to kind of work around her. FNATIC, though, they get something that, at least at the beginning of the split, Gore, I feel like we would just say the nail is in the coffin here. They get Leon, they get Willow, and they get Inara.
I mean, that is the combo. That's exactly what you want. The things that make it work and the counters that stop it. But is Ying going to be enough to keep them alive? I honestly think yes. But Androxus, Cassie, Barrick, Ruckus, like VP have damage. That's really the output they have. And like you said, probably one of the only champions who, even against, or not having the anti-heal, not having the Willow Dead Zone, not having the Death and Taxes, can kill off Inara.
Guys, cast your votes. It should be popping up in your chats right about now. We're going to head into game here between Virtus Pro and FNATIC. FNATIC have lost to Na'Vi. They have lost to NIP. How far will they fall? Will Virtus Pro be able to step up to the plate here and knock it out of the park? VP have a good draft, but I think we have all given this one to FNATIC, at least on paper. They looked very, very scary. Ying has definitely been on the come-up as of late. I think Na'Vi have been using her very effectively. Maybe it's just an OG veteran support thing. Gerrah certainly in that conversation. He and Spunky and Bird honestly piloting it quite often.
I mean, there's this combo, essentially. There's two items that are going to make her look great, right? When you go Life Exchange, Brittle 5 has been the card that has really come into that, be able to reduce the cooldown to make sure that your heal's going to be up. And then you can either go into Chronos, which will get that on an insanely low cooldown, which I think is what we see out of SK. Bidey was mentioning it. Or you can go for the morale boost and pop 90 billion ults.
Look at this. Bugsy has gone for Tremors and Aura. Let's watch along with him. This is a talent we don't get to see very often. I'd say Wrath of Stigala is in that conversation as well, but one of the least common for an Gormizer.
It is definitely a big reach out there, but he hasn't had virtually the impact that I think he wants. I mean, this has been his life, right? He is almost dead the first time he walks out there. Second time he walks out there, he is almost immediately taken down. And that's kind of what you're giving up, your ability to either slow other people down or give yourself CC immunity.
Yeah, extra damage reduction. So Tremors, I've seen Bugsy use this a couple of times before, very rarely though, where he just plays it like a shield, right? It's 80% CDR on your wall if it is not destroyed, which is basically impossible to do. The Inara can just drop the wall at any time, and then it counts as not having been destroyed, so you get that 80% CDR. It's only about a 3-second cooldown to throw the wall back up. So Bugsy's just going to be able to hide behind it. He can use his wall more liberally to zone and still have it as a defensive measure. There's not a ton in the loadout card to supplement your wall anymore. It's such a beastly ability and really does what it kind of does without needing any of its help. But I think you're seeing just those standard kind of loadout cards come through for Bugs instead.
I think the best way to look at it is kind of a barricade that you can control when it comes up and down, which is a great look when you're someone like Inara. Again, when you give up some of the things that help you control the fight a little better, but you still have your own damage reduction and the ability to make the wall a little tankier. And like you said, you can drop it whenever you want. Playing around with the cooldown of it is a playstyle that I think doesn't come up as often, but I honestly wouldn't mind seeing it more.
Yeah, it was one that I saw it and I was like, well, I mean, I guess it makes sense. The wall, when used properly, it's one of Inara's strongest hits. I mean, Earthen Guard, it gives you CC immunity and extra damage reduction, but you still get the healing amp on the base Earthen Guard, so that's something that you're not really losing out on. In combination with the fact that I just think, being able to use it liberally to block people off and then still having it up again later, because otherwise it's a very long cooldown, but you can still bring it back up and use it as a sort of mobile bunker in a sense.
We actually just got to see Bugsy do that, where he's kind of like he walls off people to lock them away from the payload, and then immediately drops it, takes like 2 steps back, and then is able to wall himself off to make sure he's not taking that damage. So it's, I guess, versatile, at least, is the best word for it, to be able to keep himself alive. As of right now, the work is being done by the rest of the team, though. FNATIC has been able to find a few kills left and right, push this payload, they captured their point, and admittedly, they're in control. This is a lot stronger than I expected them to showcase today.
There it is. Peridot will be the first to fall of this engagement, but he puts Bittner low enough for Nino to make the rotation and to clean him up. Ultimates available for either side. It's just a matter of who wants to spend to get it through. Virtus.pro holding very strong against FNATIC despite the draft, despite the reputation that this team brings. They have done a very good job.
Being able to kill off Unbe right here would be big, but he's going to be able to dash out, stay alive. That is FNATIC being able to play perfectly around the map. And again, part of the reason that I used to give this map to them all the time is being able to recognize exactly when things are going wrong, falling back. But Unbe gets a little bit too aggressive there and is locked and isolated from his team.
It's a good barricade that goes down, but Tanner's able to score the kill on the Elven Path. A lot of ultimates coming out from both sides. FNATIC have blown everything to try and get this offense pushed through. The payload is close, but they need it to go all the way. Peridot throws up the hands, he gets obliterated. And I think just the staggered nature of the way these kills are coming out here is going to be enough for FNATIC to put this one through. Unbe picks up the triple kill, almost the quad for the World Championship tank. Made newest member of this FNATIC roster. I wonder, I assume Thiel will still be coming with FNATIC just as that substitute.
I wouldn't be surprised.
To the event.
Honestly, I think it'd be a good pickup. It's always nice to have someone. There's always the mentality. Do you bring someone who's, I want to say like similar to Meta Pusher, where it's all going to be in the mind behind it all? Or do you bring in that player who admittedly might not be able to look at the draft as objectively, but when you ask them to fill in, they can play whatever they need to?
It's true. I think Thiel's always done a pretty good job. He's, been a spreadsheet kind of guy. He tracks stats. He'll look at that type of stuff. I think Thiel is a guy that will put in the work. He will have the right attitude. And so while not a full-time coach, because I think you can't take anything away from, someone who like Meta Pusher, who is probably the most infamous coach in the scene in terms of just the amount of work that he puts in, the time he's stuck in with that MB roster, and just the climb that they've had, the improvements that they have seen. You have to definitely thank him, and we'll see if Theo can maybe bring some of that to FNATIC, but you also mentioned a good point that he can step in and play the game, I think, better than Meta Pusher probably knows how.
Just being able to play at that high level is big, and right now that's kind of where FNATIC have left themselves off. This has been a much better performance out of FNATIC than I think we have seen in the last couple weeks, and that is an important mark to make. Essentially, since they've been able to replace Thiel with Unbelievable, I don't think we've seen them find success. I don't think I've felt the control they normally used to bring, right? Where they could say, this is our map. Like, it doesn't matter what game you're playing. We're playing our game, and it is working for us. And it is these small things like being able to pick up trimmers, going for something like to focus on the cooldown of the wall of Inara, as opposed to looking at just standard play And admittedly bringing Unbelievable onto something that we normally would have given, I think, to Bugsy if you're running a double frontline.
And now Ninu pushes, or gets pushed on, excuse me, by Unbelievable and Tenor. Beautiful kills coming through for them. Sheepa drops down the Hexafire, trying to find the frags, but Gerrah's just a little bit too slippery. That's an old school Ying player, baby. He sure knows how to move on that character. And let me tell you, that is not easy to do. It's very difficult to kind of keep track of where you going, where you been, and FNATIC able to scoop another payload there. Have to give a lot of credit, I think, to Bugsy on this wall, and Nara able to sort of, you know, keep the lid on the comeback mechanic, because that can spool out of control very, very quickly.
I mean, that was ult being popped, and you could hear there was an alignment, there was a Fae Flight, but I mean, Hexafire, Dome Shield, all coming down, things that are supposed to win you the point. 99% there for Virtus Pro, but it never felt like FNATIC let go, right? They were always on the point. They were always ready to be able to stop it when need be. And right now, you're getting moments like this where Perdo's either not hitting the shots, not getting the kills you would expect,
Yeah, that was ugly.
and it's just getting pushed away from Virtus Pro.
Not a good rotation of cooldowns there, and you can see it costs Virtus Pro dearly. 4 for nothing. FNATIC take a dominant stance here in this second round. Maybe finding the conversion, maybe getting this 4-0 on Jaguar Falls. Fluttering up to the high ground. And now it's just a waiting game. The respawn's coming through now for Virtus Pro. They have one ultimate. Accursed Arm is all that they have to stand on currently. Sheepa's getting close on his Hexafire, but it's not going to be available right out of the gate.
I mean, zoning them out, keeping them locked down. No one on Virtus Pro feels safe being able to walk out of it. And again, this is their map pick. This is where they wanted to go. And they are looking at what could be a 4-0 in favor of FNATIC, something we haven't gotten to see in a while. Right now, just being able to kill out Perdo starts things off.
That's a great way to get it going there. The only ultimate that VP had, and now the other one gets walled off right as it comes up. Ninu extremely low. Elven Path here, so close on the Dome Shield. 98, 99. Can he get it off? The Dome Shield comes up. Elven drops down the turret, but the shield doesn't have time to deploy. He dies in the process, and that's going to be a FNATIC Game 1 victory, 4-0 on Jaguar Falls.
Return to form. And this is, I think, what everyone wanted to see out of them when they pick up Unbi, where it's like, we want you to be successful, but at the same time, they're like, man, you've been dominating online. No one wants to see you be successful. So it's like that push and pull. And so being able to pick it up, you can tell that the team dynamic is at least shifting for them. That felt a lot more like the FNATIC we saw kind of in the summer, more than what we have seen at all this split.
Great damage from Tenor and Fasheko. Great healing from Gerrah. I mean, he crushed it. Look at that, 152,000 to the 80,000 of Surrettes.
Almost doubled it.
That's a big part of it. Obviously, you know, you do have Bugsy on that roster, being able to amplify healing, not only with Rejuvenate 3, but just the natural healing amp of Earthing Guard. Good stuff there. I like seeing the tremors. I like seeing FNATIC not get, you know, too comfortable, too back to basics there. They, you know, are doing a couple of things differently with that tremors and Nara, just enough, I think, to bring us a new flavor here.
That to me is more of the strength that we see out of G2, right? That feels like you're taking a note. And again, this is something FNATIC has said in the past. You have 5 great players, right? No one doubts the skill of all of them.
Yeah.
The thing they have had is playing their game. That's the way they've always said it, is we need to play our game, not let them play their game. Just focus in on whatever we do best. If your game's not working, you change it up, and that seems to be the route they've taken.
Yep, that's it for game number 1, though. We'll see who is able to come out the other side of this best of 5. FNATIC are nowhere out of the woods yet. You have to give VP a lot of credit. They stuck it to FNATIC last time that they've played, and both teams have only improved since. FNATIC make that major roster change, but like we have mentioned a couple of times, Unbi is that World Championship tank. He did come off a vacation, but he's got to get back to form, I think, pretty quickly now. He's got a long road ahead of him through the placement rounds and then climbing that mountain back to potentially another World Championship.
Let me tell you, you don't get picked up by a team like FNATIC and then take it softly, right? Like, you get picked up and then your grind is immediately turned to 11.
Yeah.
You are nose to the grindstone, ready to go. And it's not too often, or not too uncommon, that we see teams trade maps. So I'm assuming, you know, with Virtus Pro picking the first one, this is going to be FNATIC's pickup. But this is a map that we've seen Virtus Pro find success on countless times. Same thing goes for FNATIC. But I'm curious about their draft. I wonder what they are going to look towards. Is it going to be sniper play, or are they going to go for kind of the more tried and true?
Yeah, maybe a Talus coming out for Perdo. I don't know why. I have a gut feeling that he's going to be looking for a switch up here. I think there was a couple of awkward moments for him on Androxus, and just those little things that can frustrate you that make you not want to play it again.
Yep.
And even though it might be the right pick, and it is a strong pick on Serpent Beach, might see a little bit of a change coming out for Perdo and for Virtus Pro. he's a tank that's, he's been on the World Championship stage every year that we've run the event. He lost the first one with D69 as a substitute player, and then he won the next one with Virtus Pro. Now he'll be back under the banner of FNATIC alongside guys like, Gerrah. He played with him before. Yeah. And Bugsy was not... The reason that Umbi was there is because Bugsy wasn't there and wasn't able to fill those shoes himself. But now hopefully all three will be able to make it. Nara, the first pick for FNATIC, Torvald and Ying for VP. Trying to take things away from VP, or excuse me, of FNATIC with that Ying pick, but I like the Torvald keeping themselves open for a lot of different possibilities.
And it does feel like they're going to maybe orient themselves a little bit more towards the Talus, or maybe back to Androxus. Either way, you're going to be
Torvald
happy.
Willow, baby. Just
Torvald
let that ride, baby.
Just go back, what is it, 2 days ago now, have a flashback. I don't know if you're going to see the same thing that you saw at a Digidog. I feel like that is a Digidog performance, but I think at the same time, even half of that's going to be okay.
This is cool, though. I mean, it's probably going to be Ninu playing this.
Yeah.
And finally, we get to see a VP composition that is around Ninu. You know what I mean? We've really been giving this guy a lot of praise for being successful as not only a rookie, but as a guy who's oftentimes feeling like the lone man or the odd man out of these compositions, who isn't going to get a lot of attention, who isn't going to get a lot of healing, a lot of bubbles. But this time, hopefully, after what they saw Digidog do with this combination of Torvald Willow, hopefully the VP are able to match that. I think if they can even do half of what Digidog was able to do, they will be in a good spot here. But the old tried and true triple DPS for FNATIC, guys, cast your votes. Who do you think is taking this one?
Well, Maeve does not have the best win ratio right now. No. I think FNATIC has been the only team that's truly tried to bring her out, and it seems to be always this map. This is probably one of the better maps, I think, to bring her out in. A lot of easy traversal of the map that makes it very good for someone like Maeve or Androxus on the other side. But that execute is where you're looking at it. And I'm assuming it's going to be Bugsy flexing onto her. So a lot is going to fall onto him. I mean, we've watched it in the past where it's just, if you're not hitting these executes, then you're wasting your time. Unless you decide to go something other than Street Justice, in which case I think that opens up the avenue. And that's what I'd like to see. I don't want to see Street Justice just as an execute machine. Maybe start focusing on something else.
Here's a legendary selection. Street Justice, Death and Taxes. Everything back to normal here. Umbi will be playing the this time on Earthen Guard, Scorch, as well as the Nightshade, and looks like Field Study down there for Sheepa. And heads will roll for Perdo.
I'm going to take back what I just said. I don't mind Street Justice against this composition. I didn't think about the shielding on the side of Virtus Pro, and I think that's going to help them out. You can execute through those, or at least through Fernando. So it's going to make it a little bit easier. But again, in the past, we haven't seen him hit anywhere near as many of those, I think, as warranted for the pick.
Up in the air, Ninu and the boys able to get pretty aggressive here off the start. This is going to be the weakness of this triple DPS composition core. They just don't have the spearhead. They don't have the aggressive frontliner to battle out with FNATIC at the moment, or excuse me, with VP at the moment. Perdo falls, and that is a great start for the Bears.
I mean, all you have to do is get rid of one front line, and then who's going to stand on the point? And that's the question that FNATIC are going to have to answer this entire time. The trade-off that you get for a triple DPS is ideally the ability to get more kills. That's what you want. You just want to be able to kill them off more. You kill off the Willow, you kill off the Ying, you kill off the Andro, and yes, they're left with front lines, but as long as you still have 4 out of your 5 members on the side of FNATIC, then you can dump all of your damage into them and find the kills. But if you lose Unbelievable first, it doesn't matter.
Yep, Dead Zone going to be super important to shutting down this Nara, and it looks like with the Field Study Andro, it's just going to be enough. 1v1 in the back line here between Ninu. And I believe that's Bugsy's silhouette there fighting out on the Maeve. Virtus Pro just winning it here, 99%. Bugsy wins his 1v1, but it's too little too late. Virtus Pro have already captured the objective.
And this is part of the reason, like, I love Maeve. I think she's my second favorite champion. Bomb King always holds my heart, but she's fun to play. But there's only so many scenarios where you can feel confident going in. Part of the reason she was so big earlier on this year was because she had a little bit more damage reduction that allowed her to jump in and essentially just never die, right? She could get into your face and wouldn't worry about what you were throwing at her because it didn't make a difference. Now you have to be a lot more careful when you jump in for an execute, when you're trying to get aggressive, and it feels like there's not enough focus. Her with Torvald would be insane, but you're running her in this triple DPS style, and I just don't know if she's going to be able to get the work done that you need.
I think that's a good conversation to bring up. I almost brought it up myself. You know, she had this super strong loadout and talent combination with the old Street Justice and all that damage reduction. Then the damage reduction stuff got nerfed, but then Street Justice got It got nerfed. It got changed at its fundamental core, but it is ultimately less effective, I think, now. It used to do the same thing. It was effectively an execute because it just did more damage based on how much HP the target was missing. Meaning, though, that it did more damage all the time. It didn't mean if they were missing 10%, 20% HP, it would still do more damage. When that target was at that 35% health range, it was doing so much more bonus damage. It just was effectively an execute at that point. It becomes, I think, a little bit less effective, and the damage reduction stuff got nerfed, and that's why, you know, poor little Maeve, she just keeps, you know, falling off and getting nerfed every time she's kind of got something viable going for her.
Well, it's that awkward area, and like you had said, you know, previous Street Justice, you hit a front line at 80% health, and it chunks them down to 40% health, and then you can chunk them down from 40 to 10 or 40 to 0, depending on their full health bar. Now you have to wait for that 35%. You don't have a talent until you see someone who is at 35% health, and so your pounce, while it's still good damage, is nowhere near as effective, and that's kind of where you see Bugsy. I feel like he's okay using it to disengage, to try and get away, but overall, you've lost effective damage. You've lost where you're going to go for. That's why I don't mind seeing people, when they play this Maeve, go for bonus damage. Look at your daggers. Look at somewhere else in your kit to try and get something a little more effective, more bang for your buck when you choose that talent at the beginning.
Not surprised, but we're seeing Sheepa bubble Perdo almost exclusively. I think, especially after you saw what NIP were able to do with this, with Willow and Torvald. They may want to look at using that combination a little bit more. Obviously, either is a good choice. You know, but look at both of the champions. Where are they? You know, who would really benefit more from this bubble? That last one that I saw when Perdo kind of went out and died, the bubble was just really to get him to a spot where he could be effective. Whereas Ninu was already on the high ground. He probably could have already found damage if he had gotten the bubble. Here comes the gas pedal, though. One kill for nothing in favor of the defense so far. Bugsy just now respawning. I think VP is looking pretty good for this hold.
And this is where the execute can come online. Elven Path is going to be low, and there's going to be the kill, although Bittner's the one who gets credit for it.
Ooh.
Respawn proximity, moments like that, areas like that, I think benefit this talent a lot more. But when you see that, in my mind, that's when you start looking at, okay, we're going for a 3-3. And like you said, Virtus Pro have pretty much all the control. If you bubble Nino or Perdo and they get a good moment, that's 3 kills. That's an easy point capture or push for them, at least for a little bit of time. So you give them a lot of space. Whereas the other side, right now, my eyes are more on Bittner, more on Fisheko as the guys that have to perform. Bugsy is the auxiliary. If he is performing as well, then I think everything's going perfectly for them. But I don't expect him to do well unless the other two are hitting everything.
4-1, 3-1, 3-1. Those are the slash lines I'm looking at right now for this triple DPS comp. The weakness here is the front line. 0-2 for Unbelievable, and Thiel has become an expert at running the front line role in this 3 DPS comp where he doesn't really get a lot of support. It's not really all about him. Unbe looking like he may be needing a little bit more practice if FNATIC want to continue to run their signature style. Up into the air, bubble, the cursed arm. Perdo getting some attention, but Bugsy's just going to turn out the lights and make it impossible for him to hit his target anymore. And Inu manages to pick up one and barely escape with his life. Now Perdo is in a good spot to terrorize this back line. Gerrah and Tenor have to be aware of this, though.
Out of line of sight for a bubble, though. Actually, not quite. I think he's just in angle if he holds that right, but he's going to fall back, which at this point is actually falling onto the point and away from FNATIC's backline. But that's 45% for FNATIC. Passed now by Virtus Pro to make sure they hold on to it. And with the way they're starting to pressure it out, I mean, this is going to be good if Unbelievable can get on that point. But so far, they have had no luck keeping this NR alive.
There it is. Open Path shield is down. Here comes the Dread Serpent as well. CC chaining, and Nara drops her ultimate into the bucket as well. Elven Path still healthy enough on the front line. Is going to finally be brought low by Tenor. Enlightenment's ready. Who does Tenor want, though? He's in a good spot. He's diving in. This shows you that he kind of wants it. Look at the kill feed here. 2 for Bugsy, 3 for Ninu, I think, and a triple kill for Bittner when it's all said and done. Or was that for Ninu? I couldn't really tell. So many people dying in that engagement. But it will be FNATIC coming out on top when the dust settles.
And being able to, again, gas pedal it when you need it. And that's when the slash lines start playing a bigger effect. Bittner, he has a good game. He can carry anybody. With the way things are going on this Leon, you then look at the rest of the team. And again, Bugsy is going to be the cleanup, right? He's the one that comes in afterward. But you have Cassie and Leon. Those are 2 of the highest DPS that we've seen, as well as some of the best champions in terms of just raw killing potential. They can take out anybody on Virtus Pro, given the right amount of time.
And just Tenor trying to win this 1v1 against a And Andrew, who's getting a bubble from Torvald, that's a tough task he has just signed up for, unable to complete it. Perdo barely able to, you know, kind of scrape out that 1v1 despite getting 2 bubbles across, giving him not only HP but bonus damage as well. FNATIC now trying to crack this defense. They have to wait for Tennor's respawn to come through. How do VP switch gears from offense to defense?
It's going to be difficult. A lot of their defense, especially when you look at the shielding, the bubbles, anything like that, easily popped by at least 3 members, if not 4, on the side of FNATIC. When you look at, again, Cassie, Leon, Maeve, nothing to deal with. Shield comes through. Bubble's going to be good. Bugsy's incredibly low, but is going to get out. But so is Perdo.
That was huge.
So both teams testing the waters.
And now running into Ninu up on the high ground. Ninu had his damage already basically deployed onto the field. Bugsy just ran into it. Gets popped. The biggest blunder, though, of that fight, though, is that pounce, I think, missing onto Perdo. That was a guaranteed kill. Dropped. And then Bugsy had to scurry away. Perdo ended up living. He picks up 2 on the exit frags. 43 seconds on the clock now. FNATIC wiped off the face of the map. They have to collect themselves and come back. They've got time for one more try, certainly. They didn't really spend any ultimates in that last fight. Virtus.pro did, though. They used their Illusory Rift. Still have 4 to lean on.
One of the things we had mentioned when Thiel was benched for Unbe was that we wouldn't mind seeing FNATIC use the bench similar to what we see, and I would say just like traditional sports, right? When you come through where it's just like, you know what? We're running triple DPS. Thiel is the best single front line that you can have. We're going to bring Thiel in for this game, but next game we're doing double front line. We're going to bring in Unbe and flex over Bugsy. Like kind of moving people in and out to make sure that whatever you're playing fits better for your draft.
Perdo's so low here. Elvin Path with some good peel, but he's had to really be focused on just this one spot and the map in particular. So much healing coming out onto the Fernando, though. He has remained healthy through all of this pressure. Unbelievable. He's getting pelted by the mirror from up top. I mean, this is going to be good damage that adds up over time. Fishy and Tenor go down. Ninu still having an absolutely awesome game on this Willow. Despite not really getting the bubbles, he's kind of been off on his own, and that's just his reputation, man. And he has really done a good job this entire split of sort of doing his own thing and still being successful.
A lot of this matchup is coming down to how long do those bubbles last. FNATIC are going to be itemizing heavily into like Wrecker. They're going to be trying to shut down the healing using the Death and Taxes. They're going to be using the Wrecker 3 that is there and the Cauterize 3 as well to kind of augment that and look for those matchups, those 1v1s, take them down, keep them low. But unfortunately, it feels like the bubbles are coming up so much, that Chronos 2 paying off for Sheepa, that every single time I see him go into a matchup, they're very well contested and honestly should win the fight on the side of FNATIC. But it's just, Perdo's low, here's a full bubble. Oh, Perdo's low again, here's another bubble. Like, it just seems to come up at the perfect time every single instance.
4 ultimates for FNATIC, 5 ultimates for VP. Nearly there for 5 on FNATIC as well. The lights turned off by Bugsy. Up in the air once again. Ninu hits the Faith Light, gets the bubble as well, drops the Seedling onto the objective. He's not super concerned with Inari. He doesn't seem to be putting a lot of pressure onto her. 1 for 1 so far. Front line for support. Perdo gets up into the air. Accursed Arm goes to the back line. Finds another Ninu with his second of the kill as well. Perdo finds another double kill. It's 2 for both of the backliners on Virtus.pro. Unbelievable. Without a teammate around him. Goes down slow and alone.
An impressive bout from Virtus.pro and being able to hold on to it. Now trying to just catch up to what is the 45%. That's the one strength of Inara. And we actually, this goes back to a conversation we had yesterday. Where's that line? Where can you draw it? When do you need to get aggressive? When do you need to take the front line that is Inara off of the point? 45% is a great number for that, especially when you have a Hyper Beam available for you. You can just try to hold on as best you can. The wall might push you up, but you're going to be in control all the way. 96% here for VP.
There it is. So close here for Virtus.pro. They can taste it, but they can't get ahead of themselves. It's not over just yet. Bugsy manages to find 1 kill. Answering back, gets the double execute. Might look for the triple. Bugsy with 3 executes in this engagement. Double jump. Needs to hit a couple more daggers onto Ninu. But has he done enough already? Finds the last of it. Bugsy.
Wow.
Adrian Bogowski does it again. What an electric player on the Maeve. Something I don't think he's played at this split. But the man is so versatile, without question the most versatile player in Paladins. What a performance from him. That was an incredible team fight. And I mean, really the only way that gets brought back.
Yeah, night and day from the beginning, right? Where it's just like, okay, we're not seeing any fights come through. You get a 1v1, you barely win a 1v1. to I just killed 4 people, essentially being able to swing it around, that execute paying its weight in gold. Of course, the resets being worthwhile there. Maeve is one of the only champions that can do that, and I feel like Bugsy's one of the only players that can make Maeve do that.
That was the biggest part of that. The resets you mentioned was, so clutch there. And winning that 1v1 without needing to pop a bunch of his cooldowns, so he still had both of his dashes up to get those potential executes. Not an easy road, and it was definitely, that's a risk-reward situation there, right? Bugsy risked losing that 1v1 by not using any of his cooldowns, but he still did it with just basically the in-hands there. Now getting aggressive, diving into the backline. Finally that kill onto Perdo, as well as the Midnight. Such an impactful ultimate used here by the Maeve, and one that charges very, very quickly. Elven Path can't be bailed out either. I like this offense from FNATIC so far.
Being able to get aggressive, this could actually be the end if they can push it in, and they're getting the kills to do so.
There it is. Bugsy finds 2 more. 1:15 on the clock. Up in the air with the accursed arm. The wall will go up. Unbelievable. Thinks this one is a surefire thing. Bugsy's already found 2. The Warder's Field almost may have found that kill onto Perdo. The seismic crash isn't even needed, but it's there just for good measure. FNATIC find a beautiful win there on Serpent Beach. An explosive turnaround after the way that game started, to that team fight from Bugsy where he finds 4, to that offense that took maybe 45 seconds to go from start to finish.
I mean, that was a complete turnaround. And again, Virtus.pro, they look phenomenal. They've been getting better every single week. This is the turnaround FNATIC need, not only just to leave everybody kind of scared of them going into LAN, but also for themselves, feeling confident after the way things have been going. I mean, going 5 games with Mouse is kind of the reason we thought today was going to be a bigger sweep for Virtus.pro.
Awesome stuff there from FNATIC. They take 2 in a row. VP will still be able to select the next map, because that's how these best of 5s work. Great damage across the board, 14 and 6, 12 and 8. Good slash lines from VP, I think, all around for the most part. But it's just that explosive turnaround. That's why this is going to look that way, because FNATIC were sort of on the back foot there until it all turned around. Bugsy's Maeve having a big part in that. And I think 14 killing blows. He must have found at least 6 of those in that final round alone. That's where it all started. You can see him just hovering here. What an impactful player. What impactful play we've seen kind of front to back. Hopefully we get that team fight there where he goes off. This is it. Hits the knives. 1 execute, reset, 2 execute. And just hitting the daggers onto Ninu. A little bit of help. Smart as well, just to get out of line of sight for a little while. Had some help, I think, from Gerrah, trying to spit up onto the high ground there. Not the easiest angle to play with, though, on Maldamba.
And showcasing something about Maeve that I think is not only unique to her having the resets, but also towards the tail end there. One thing about Paladins, you jump up against a wall, you jump a little higher than you do normally. Maeve with a double jump, that applies to both of them, so you can use that to like bounce and get vision on high ground that you normally wouldn't have had.
Yeah, it's awesome to see. And it's good to know that that's just a pocket pick for FNATIC. That's a bit of a fringe pick, like I said. I may or may not have remembered seeing Bugsy play it once this split. I think I've seen it at least once. I don't know if it was Bugsy.
On Jag Falls, FNATIC played it, lost horribly.
Oh, man. Well, there you go.
That's all I remember. I can't remember who it was against, but I remember it did not look good. It was a Game 3 fringe pick. Maybe we can make it work.
That's where maybe Maeve will sit for a little while. VP, they will pick Stone Keep, and we'll get the first pick in the draft as well. They ban out the Ruckus, which is interesting. They're the only ones to pick that up so far in game number 1. It is what it is.
It is what it is. I mean, he has a lot of
I don't think FNATIC are super
potential.
after it.
But yeah, I don't think that's something FNATIC are leaning towards. I mean, Bugsy, as well as Unbe, I think can both play him at that level, and he's been prominent in Navi's draft. He's been prominent in Virtus.pro's draft.
You know, that's true. I forgot about Unbe. I forgot about Unbe being on this roster now. In the past, I would say that Ruckus wasn't a big part of FNATIC's lineup, but certainly now. Certainly.
Fortunately, well, I guess fortunately, if you're Virtus.pro, you give up, you don't ban Drogos, so you get Drogos.
Yeah.
Perfect opportunity. You get rid of probably one of the bigger threats that you can have in terms of a team fight, which to me is a Hexafire, and get probably one of the best champions in the game.
FNATIC will grab the Torvald this time around. I wonder who will play it. Bugsy's played a little bit of this. I think Unbe wouldn't surprise me if he ended up there as well. And Andro, I think FNATIC are certainly looking at the Willow here. That was open. They've got the Torvald. This is already a good map for Little Willy. It will allow her with that Torvald combination to just not worry about matchups either, I think. I think you can blast this Androxus if you get a bubble, and Drogo shouldn't give you too much trouble as well. The Ashe will come through. That feels like an unbelievable pick. So I think it'll be Bugsy on the Torvald this time.
This is also a perfect opportunity because you can scoop up what you want in your draft, right? Ash is actually something FNATIC have been focusing on. They used it during the Summerland where it didn't work out the way they had intended it to. Now they have that flexibility to work with it, but they don't need the Willow then. They already have a blaster on the other side. You don't need anything to be able to pick it up, and Eevee last also keeps you from showing your hand a little too early.
Okay. FNATIC go to the Eevee. They've got pretty much the best one in the world. It's just been a while since we've seen him play. Guys, cast your votes here for the potentially final time. If FNATIC can't find this victory on Stone Keep, they will complete the 3-0 over Virtus Pro. The games have, admittedly not been as close as I thought they would be.
Yeah, I kind of thought we would see, honestly, back and forth. I thought it was going to be a 5-game set, even if it was like a 4-2, 4-2, 4-2 instead of the 4-3s. I thought it was going to be a little bit more contested. That first one was very dominant from FNATIC. That last one, even though it was a little shaky, once they cemented themselves, once Bugsy gets that play, there's no turning around from that, right?
Yeah,
if you're Virtus Pro, there's no way to be able to say, all right, we're going to get a defense and go into the rest of the game. Like, you're just sitting there like, man, we let Maeve do that?
They did. They did let her do that. And then I think FNATIC did a good job of carrying that momentum into that offense as well. Getting those kills, like that same spot you saw that kill dropped on Peridot in that little corner where he was sort of just stuck for the majority of the round prior. He ended up going down. Very explosive finish for FNATIC. Snow Globe Eevee for Lil Fishy. And a Fortress Breaker Ash for Bugsy. It will be Unbe on the field study Torvald. Impulse Cassie for Tenor. Everything else looks pretty standard for the VP side.
You know what? FNATIC have made changes that I think it's the hard call to make. And I will agree with what Evan said, where this was a land change, but I think they've made more than just an unbelievable swap in. I think their mentality about certain talents, certain playstyles has also changed and is coming together nicely. Kind of emulating what we've seen out of G2 in the past.
This Eevee hitting hard, 11:05 when the bubble lines up with the in-hand attack. You can see it there. And that's something I don't actually know off the top of my head, but it looked like Pacheco shot the shot, and then the bubble was placed on Eevee. And even though the shot was launched prior to the bubble, it still looked like it hit with the bonus damage. But despite all of the big numbers popping up on screen, no kills for Virtus Pro out of the gate. FNATIC hasn't been able to find a way onto the objective either. They are losing currently 69% to 6.
I feel like there's a lot of potential here, but it has a little bit of wind-up time for FNATIC, right? You have to get comfortable with it. It's a big champion swap. Pacheco, even though he is a phenomenal Eevee, does take a little bit of time to get warmed up, healed up, and ready to go. As long as they can hold overtime, maybe something comes out for FNATIC. But 99-6 is a huge number to try and defend against.
You can see a lot of damage going out onto Sheepa at the moment here. Tenor drops off the balcony, getting aggressive, but VP have done such a good job making FNATIC think they can get a kill. Maybe one here. I don't think FNATIC have gotten a kill. Still, so many people so low this whole time, but VP doing such a good job maintaining control of the objective, rotating people around this fight. Whoever's low gets out, whoever's healthy gets in. And with that, it's a flawless first round for Virtus Pro so far.
I mean, it's not often that we get to do this, but I'd love to look at the slash lines just coming out of that, because FNATIC, like, there was a lot of moments it felt like they had control. They didn't get anything. Like you said, no kills, no deaths for Pacheco, but everybody else has not been able to afford a lot. Peridot has been able to step up. Sheepa putting his name in there. And the control on the objective translated into kills, translated into a 100% capture.
Look at that. 2 ultimates in about 2 seconds, 2 tries. For Pacheco, both of them fall flat on their face. Peridot hits a couple of dinks and then actually sprays down on the Eevee, letting Fishy know who's boss so far in this matchup. Virtus Pro have been literally flawless. No one has died so far. Sheepa, the first death of the game for VP. Look at that. Unbelievable. Gets knocked off the map by a fire spit as well. So even when things starting to go wrong, big things going right.
Being able to find whatever control they can. Bugsy's holding this angle. We've seen Ash live here for the longest time, and in conjunction with the damage from Pacheco, it's finally enough to at least give a little bit of pressure back.
Breathing
and this
room.
is such a weird map, because my stat in my head is that Virtus Pro, they've beaten Na'Vi on this map. They've taken a lot of the top teams down because of Stone Keep. But then I remember that it's been 3 different rosters that have accomplished that kind of feat. And I'm wondering if Elven Path just knows something about this map, the way it works, because he is the only consistent key through all of that.
Fishy not wanting to get aggressive there. Not playing Wormhole, though, so you got to remember that he has to be careful. Misses an Ice Storm. I don't know if he thought the turret was Barrack or Or what? I mean, I often get confused as well. Eric might.
Same height.
Yeah.
Same damage output.
Thick. Turret comes through, and Fishy will get the better of Perdo, and that engagement gets another bubble. And now he'll start to work his way through. Sheepa has an Ice Storm available as well. If he wants to use it, he will just successfully chase everyone off. Sheepa's still in a position there to get collapsed on, but everyone from FNATIC just backing off for the time being. Finally, this round slowing down a bit. The defense can talk about maybe what's going wrong, what's going right, what they want to change for the next round.
Well, I think a big focus can actually be turned towards Fisheko. His EV play and everything other than his ult has been spot on. And when you look at Snow Globe, yes, you have the leniency of I can use an ult at 50%. That's why that's online so often. But the downside is, of course, where it's coming through. But right now, Ninu, Perdo picking up kills. This is the perfect time to do it. Overtime might be there, but they're holding on to it.
Bugsy just trying to hang on under the shield as well. Perdo, his old teammate, will throw hands, hit the spray as well. And this looks like it's going to be conversion for Virtus Pro. Slowly but surely, they roll it on home. Virtus Pro, indomitable in the first round. Only a couple of ultimates used to get that 2-0 lead as well.
The question was changes to be made for FNATIC to try and give this round a little bit more control. And I was looking at Fisheko, his ults have not quite been hitting the mark. I think I've seen 2 or 3 of them just not connect with anybody. And then the other case is Bittner. I mean, he's 0-3-2, but I feel like a lot of his play has been jumping off of the safe high ground to get in your face against Virtus Pro, who do not care. They have shields, they have walls, or they just have straight-up damage that can burst you down fast enough. So those 2 styles of play. Fisheko has 4 kills. He's the only one finding them. Let Bittner have a little bit of love, but he has to start playing a little differently, maybe just more patiently.
Yeah, that's a good part of it. I mean, FNATIC got baited into thinking they had a couple of kills wrapped up, and then Virtus Pro managed to just squeak away. Ninu eats a big shot somewhere. Maybe that was Tenor. From the high ground, here comes one of probably many Ice Storms that we will see this round, but Ninu lands his Dragon Punch and gets out alive. That's what's scary. No counterplay there. Another Ice Storm comes through, finds one, and it's just Sheepa left under a Dome Shield, and Fishy spraying, feeling good about that one so far. That Dome Shield accomplishes nothing, does not get the peel that it needs for that teammate.
That time, ult hits. Burst is coming through. Bugsy is getting his name in there, and Ash is one of the few front lines that can do it just as well as you'll see out of some of the blasters. That's good from FNATIC, but again, comeback mechanic enabled. They only had to win the one fight. They did it beautifully, but it didn't showcase a lot of what Virtus Pro have, at least in terms of retake. So Elven Path right now, even though he's in the midst of it all, and he goes down, could have been a different story.
Yeah, I think we've seen a lot of Ashes sort of be really aggressive. Like, Phoenix plays that super aggressively. He ends up getting a lot of kills whenever he plays the Ashe. But with this Torvald backing it up, Bugsy really has to be the point frontliner here. He can't be running around the map putting pressure onto backliners because he just won't be able to get it done, especially when you look at like a Drogos. Drogos has 2,400 HP, and until Bugsy gets like a late game Cauterize online, he's just not going to be able to take that dragon down in a timely manner.
It's unfortunate, but his burst damage, honestly, it adds up. That's one of the things about it. When you're looking at something like an Inara, then it does matter, at least in terms. As long as the healing isn't going to be there, the Cauterizes are online for FNATIC. At least they're starting to get there to the point where they will matter more. He has his ult available as well. So Bugsy, for someone who can close out a round, he has all of the things in his arsenal to do so.
Drops down the shield, and he just wants to keep sieging this high ground. Ashe is a great champion for this right here. Playing her, it's almost like little baby fire spits, just right around the corner, not nearly as much damage, but can keep the Cauterize apply and just keep people in combat, keep the pressure on, chipping away slowly but surely. The damage is coming through for FNATIC. Got to get this Barrack down the second he falls. The millisecond he falls, you could even say. That payload will explode through FNATIC, even it up 2-2.
Look at that. I think it was, what, 0-2? Maybe 0-3, actually, coming into the round for Bittner. He goes on a 10 streak. He's now 4-3-6.
There we go.
Fisheko goes up to 9-3. Bugsy throws his name in the hat as well at 5-2. That was the exact turnaround they needed to. All of a sudden, Perdo, Ninu, they're not hitting anywhere near as hard. Sheepa, I think, was a very dominant force, him and Elven Path being able to hold on to the objective. But again, comeback mechanic enabled. You take that, you turn it into momentum, you tie up the game. It's 2-2, so I'm curious. I'm anxious, I guess is the better way to say it. What is FNATIC going to do in this round to win the second fight? Not just the first one, but the hold afterward. The defense that they're going to have to take in order to hold on to the point.
A couple of Cauterized threes here now online. Tenor gets the record 2. maybe that was a part of the difference, right? They're able to get through not only the bowling ball shields a little bit quicker, but the barricades a little bit quicker. Some anti-heal is going to be applied stronger. Fishy can, I think, commit more to these kills. And now look at that. Elven Path just goes right down in the first probably 10 to 15 seconds on the objective. Fishy up over the top, drops the Ice Storm just for good measure. And that's what Snow Globe is about. You think you might need it? Just use it. You got another one. And another one. And almost another one. I mean, he's back to 16%. Only has to make it to 50 before he gets yet his third Ice Storm online.
You can see the jump that percentage takes whenever
What a
he hits
fun
a shot.
talent. What a
makes
cool
things-
ultimate talent. You know what I mean? I feel like
Yeah.
no other ult talent is actually worth anything. But Snow Globe is cool.
I think it's fun because, again, this is something that we've seen G2 do. And this, to me, not only is it just awesome watching Fisheko play Eevee, like, this is probably, this is the best Eevee player that you could probably watch.
Yeah, I think this is the best Eevee
Of
in the
all
world.
of it, just when it comes down to it. And giving him Snow Globe, giving him that utility 2 times in a row changes not only his style, but the way his team can now play around it. It's not going to be protect Eevee. Eevee protects herself.
Yeah, she's looking after number 1 here. 80% on the ultimate. Remember, you only need to use 50% charge to get that off. And that's what I like about this talent. I think Paladins has never been about saving up, spamming ults, that type of thing. And the only way we've seen a talent card work is Snow Globe. And Snow Globe changes the way that the ultimate works. And because of that, allows you to use it more often without it being too oppressive.
Probably the only champion you could do that with, too, right? Any other champion, like, don't give Drogoz 2 punches. Any other champion, it doesn't work. Ice Storm is the perfect example of how this can work. Also charges up relatively quickly, especially with Fisheko playing the way he plays Eevee. Makes it easy to get 50%, no problem. And he's been finding mid-air shots. He's been blasting down Drogoz. It's not been enough to find the full push yet, but they are on their way.
Really good Torvald bubble there, but this Fire Spit will probably do it. Tags Fisheko mid-air as well, and Sheepa finds the shot. Sheepa finds 2 on the barrack, and just the reset call here for FNATIC. Everyone jumps off of the edge. This is it, Virtus Pro. They either hold this defense or they are sent packing, and FNATIC will defeat them and go into the placement round tournament. Looking pretty good, feeling pretty good. They've pulled out a very different feeling composition pretty much every single game today. Bugsy has gone from Tremors and Nara to Street Justice Maeve. Now he's on Fortress Breaker Ashe. Unbelievable's played a Nara, playing Torvald, playing a lot of different stuff, playing Fernando. Almost everyone on this FNATIC lineup has played a different champion every single game.
And we had mentioned the other day, he knew one of the things that was impressive was they played 4 games, he played 4 champions, and he looked great on every single one of them. But it's hard to be the OG. Bugsy, in my mind, is the most flexible, best competitive player to be able to do that kind of thing. And as of right now, I think that is warranting the rest of FNATIC to be comfortable on whatever they want to play. There's going to be an Ice Storm. This is going to be a lockdown. Sheepa's gone.
There it is, into the ice block as well, buying so much time. Fisheko's content to just sit there in his ice block as long as it will take. Punish some shots up onto the high ground now. Here comes the Dread Serpent. Is she looking for the kill? So close to being able to get it as well. On to Elven Path now. Wants to commit to the Inara. Maybe a Snow Globe here into the back line. Drops 1 onto Drogoz. Almost has enough charge for the next. This payload hasn't gone through just yet. Dome Shield is coming up. Sheepa needs it now, dude. He needs to hit one of these shots. Drops it the second it comes up. And Virtus Pro defends successfully. FNATIC is just inches off of the objective. And so they're unable to send it in an overtime. I don't believe it. So many people were there.
Just enough space.
That's
just
crazy.
enough time, right?
That's-
Like overtime in that moment is a big benefit. 19-4. Like, I can't even continue what I'm talking about. 19-4, 113,000
Hold the phone
damage.
here. Wowie.
Did we mention that Fisheko's in fantastic Eevee? Because I feel like that's important to note here.
Let's, well, we can clarify that right now. Fisheko is indeed a fantastic Eevee player. Tanner's bounced back wonderfully. I think Bugsy's definitely picked up as well. I think he started the game like 1-2 or something like that, so he's moved up to 7-4. Good looks for the Ashe. FNATIC just need to keep it rolling.
He has
here.
morale boost too.
He does, man. It's just too many. Just too many Ice Storms. That's the way you got to play Snow Globe Eevee, though. I mean, it's so much fun just to use your ultimate all the time. Drogo's coming in. He knows that Eevee has an ice block. Does manage to find the connection onto Torvald. Wants to find this shot and will. Now just hanging out, waiting for him. Wants this 1v1 with Maldamba, don't you? I mean, that's an easy enough matchup for you, but Tenner's going to clean up both. Bugsy finds a third up onto the high ground. And Sheepa's probably so sick of getting sneezed on by Eevee this game.
4% every single shot he hits is what that's jumping up. And normally that's not that bad, but then you're looking at 10 shots, he's at 40%. He's 10% away from an ult. Like, he does not have to do a lot of work to get these Ice Storms off. Plus the passive timer, he has no worries in the world as Fish Echo to be able to drop those down and keep control. And that's going to be a big amount of control here for FNATIC, just having that win.
Not a super strong zone. Virtus Pro don't have any ultimates. FNATIC use Scout. They will be getting another Ice Storm, of course, because Fish can get those up with the quickness. He's already found one in the back line. Fish Echo finds two. He's searching with plenty of ult charge to spare. He might just go drop these on the objective. Sneezes on Sheepa for like the 4th time this round, and Barrick just trying to stay alive, just trying to play the game at this point. Elvin Pat, the last one left standing on the objective, but it is a 4v1, and Nara won't be able to stand up to those odds for much longer. Wow. Can I get a slash line before we end this game on Fishy?
23 and 5.
And 5. Whew! What a turnaround there, because that was a slow start for FNATIC.
So we've seen Furia pop a ton of ults in a game. We've seen Ying pop even more ults.
Yeah.
I feel like Fish Echo just hit the top of the charts with how
Probably.
many Ice Storms just came out.
That was 4 or 5 in that
Granted,
fight.
I mean, being able to come down, hitting it at 50% makes it a little bit easier overall, but the morale boost too, going up, I think it was at the time 4% every single time he hits a shot, makes it so easy in these engagements with the way he plays her, the rhythm that Eevee has. It was beautiful.
It's a lot of fun to watch, guys. It's a lot of fun to play. Cast your votes now, though, for the MVP of that set. FNATIC able to take down Virtus Pro in just 3 games. So you can say that FNATIC have returned to form slightly. Virtus Pro, last time they faced off against FNATIC, back when Thiel was on the main roster, they were able to get a game off of them on Frozen Guard, but no longer. FNATIC ban out the Frozen Guard. They bring out the Eevee. They're up against the wall. And 23 and 5, Fish Echo slam dunks the pick home. Great stuff from the rest of the squad as well.
I'll say Bidner, kind of the somewhat silent healer. He was about 13k, or silent damage.
Yeah.
13k behind, but still sitting, I think he was 11 and 4.
Well, that's
so doing
perfect.
a lot. It's exactly what you need out of the Cassie. This is the flashy play. This is the, hey, look at me. This is what you're scared of. This is what you're trying to deal with. So Bidner can just sit in the back and slowly find shots wherever he's needed.
He's running the full soar reset as well. You can see 10 seconds, the second he gets this kill here on the Drogos, this cooldown of his soar gets reset. And this allows you to just make up for the lack of mobility that you would otherwise lose. I think, you play that card. You can play that card anytime. I think it's a great card. It's a bit high risk, high reward, but that's a lot of fun to play with. And you get those soars, you play a lot with like Over the Moon, and without the wormhole being able to blink around the whole map in and out all the time, it's a great thing to have. It's a great little thing in the pocket. And your MVP of the set is Fish Echo. After that performance, I think that's what a lot of people are going to be basing their votes off of, and it was one for the ages as well. It's something that I hope that FNATIC get to lean a little bit on at LAN as well, because she's had her issues. Eevee's had a lot of issues with LAN and being able to play her there, and it's just not the same. I don't think without the without the King, without Eevee, FNATIC is not quite the same team. So I'm excited to see, hopefully with all those champions at full health, full strength for the event, what that team will be able to do. That does it for this set, though. We've got one more. We're going to go on a quick break, but we'll be right back with Mouse Sports versus Na'Vi.